For centuries, tales of giant human skeletons unearthed across North America have captured the imagination of both indigenous peoples and settlers. From the Native American legends of towering beings to the numerous reported discoveries by European settlers, the existence of these ancient giants remains a tantalizing mystery. Adding to the intrigue is the alleged conspiracy by the Smithsonian Institution to cover up these findings and discredit those who reported them. This article delves into the history, discoveries, and the purported efforts to suppress evidence of the lost giants of America. Long before European settlers arrived in North America, indigenous tribes spoke of a race of giants who once roamed the land. The Paiute tribe, indigenous to the Great Basin region of Nevada, have long recounted the story of the Seediqa, which translates to Tule Eaters. According to Paiute oral history, the Seediqa were a race of red-haired giants who lived in the area long before the arrival of European settlers. These giants were described as being exceptionally tall, with some accounts suggesting they stood over 10 feet in height. The Seediqa were said to be a warlike and hostile tribe, often clashing with the Paiute people. According to the legend, the Seediqa lived on rafts in nearby lakes and subsisted primarily on tule, a type of fibrous water plant. The relationship between the Paiute and the Seediqa was fraught with tension and conflict, ultimately leading to a dramatic and violent conclusion. Central to Choktaw mythology is the tale of the Nahullo, a race of giants who were said to tower over ordinary humans. The Nahullo were described as being incredibly tall and powerful, with some accounts suggesting they were between 7 and 10 feet tall. They were known for their strength and their imposing presence, striking fear and awe into the hearts of those who encountered them. According to Choctaw legends, encounters with the Nahullo were fraught with danger. These giants were often depicted as hostile and aggressive, posing significant threats to the Choctaw people. The Nahullo were said to have a voracious appetite, sometimes even resorting to cannibalism. The Choctaw warriors, known for their bravery and skill, often found themselves in fierce battles with these formidable foes. According to Navajo legend, the giants were created in the First World, known as the Black World. As the Navajo people migrated through the different worlds, the giants followed, causing havoc and challenging the gods. These beings were immense in size, often described as towering over the tallest trees, with eyes that glowed like embers and voices that could cause the ground to tremble. The giants were typically portrayed as malevolent creatures, their primary role being to test the resilience and ingenuity of the Navajo people. However, some legends also depict them as tragic figures, cursed by the gods and forced to roam the earth in eternal suffering. This duality highlights the complexity of Navajo mythology, where beings can embody both good and evil characteristics. According to Comanche legends, long before the arrival of Europeans, an ancient race of giants lived in North America. These giants were said to be as tall as 12 feet and possessed incredible strength. They were believed to have inhabited vast areas of what is now the United States, roaming freely across the plains, mountains, and forests. The giants were described as both awe-inspiring and terrifying. They were depicted as having great physical power, which they used to dominate and sometimes terrorize the smaller human inhabitants. Despite their fearsome reputation, the giants were also credited with possessing advanced knowledge and skills, which they shared with the indigenous peoples. When European settlers began exploring the continent, they too encountered what appeared to be evidence of these giants. In the early 19th century, numerous reports emerged of giant skeletal remains being unearthed. One such discovery occurred in 1800 when soldiers digging a pit near present-day Wheeling, West Virginia, found several large skeletons. These bones, measuring up to 7 feet in length, suggested the existence of a race of humans far larger than the average person of the time. Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, reports of giant skeletons continued to surface. One of the most famous discoveries occurred in the 1880s in the burial mounds of the Ohio Valley. Numerous skeletons measuring between 8 and 10 feet were reportedly found, often accompanied by artifacts that pointed to an advanced society. These discoveries were widely reported in newspapers of the time, capturing public interest and stirring debate among scientists and laypeople alike. In 1911, guano miners in Nevada's Lovelock Cave stumbled upon a cache of artifacts and bones. Among the remains were giant human skeletons, some measuring over 10 feet in height. The miners' discovery lent credence to the Paiute legends of the Ctacah giants. The artifacts included tools, woven materials, and other items indicating a sophisticated culture. However, many of these remains mysteriously vanished after being turned over to authorities, fueling suspicions of a cover-up. Another significant discovery took place in 1833 near Lompoc Rancho, California, where soldiers unearthed a skeleton measuring over 12 feet in length. The bones were surrounded by massive, intricate stone tools, indicating that these giants had a sophisticated culture. This finding, like many others, was met with skepticism and was largely dismissed by the scientific community. In 1895, workers in San Diego, California, discovered a giant skeleton during an excavation. The remains measured over 9 feet in length, and the find was initially heralded as a groundbreaking discovery. The skeleton was displayed in a local museum, drawing significant attention from both the public and scientists. However, within a few years, the skeleton mysteriously disappeared, and no records of its whereabouts could be found, adding to the lore of covered-up giant discoveries. In the late 19th century, numerous reports emerged from Wisconsin detailing the discovery of giant skeletons. One notable account from 1891 involved a group of archaeologists uncovering the remains of over a dozen individuals, all measuring between 7 and 9 feet in length, near Lake Delavan. These giants were found buried in elaborate tombs with copper artifacts, suggesting a highly developed culture. Despite initial excitement, the skeletons were reportedly sent to the Smithsonian Institution and subsequently vanished from public records. In the early 20th century, Ralph Glidden, an amateur archaeologist, conducted extensive excavations on Catalina Island off the coast of California. Glidden claimed to have found numerous giant skeletons, some as tall as 9 feet, along with artifacts and tools indicative of an advanced society. He documented his findings with photographs and detailed records. However, upon his death, much of his collection was dispersed, and many of the giant skeletons were lost or destroyed. The remaining artifacts and records were largely ignored by mainstream scientists, further fueling conspiracy theories. As more discoveries were made, skepticism grew. Mainstream scientists often dismissed these findings as hoaxes, misidentifications, or exaggerated reports. Skeptics argued that the remains were simply those of abnormally large individuals or misidentified animal bones. Despite this skepticism, the sheer number of reports and the consistency of the descriptions lent credibility to the existence of these giants. The most controversial aspect of the giant skeletons narrative involves the Smithsonian Institution, one of America's most respected scientific organizations. According to numerous sources, the Smithsonian engaged in a systematic effort to collect and conceal evidence of giant human remains, effectively discrediting those who reported such findings. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the Smithsonian conducted extensive archaeological excavations across the United States. During these excavations, it is alleged that the institution uncovered numerous giant skeletons. However, instead of publicizing these discoveries, the Smithsonian purportedly removed the remains from public view and destroyed or hid them to preserve the conventional narrative of human history. One of the most vocal proponents of this theory was researcher and author Richard J. Dewhurst. In his book, The Ancient Giants Who Ruled America, Dewhurst presents compelling evidence of a cover-up, including newspaper articles, personal testimonies, and official reports. He argues that the Smithsonian's actions were part of a broader agenda to maintain the status quo in the field of anthropology and archaeology. Individuals who reported finding giant skeletons often faced harsh criticism and ridicule. Many were accused of fabricating their discoveries for fame or financial gain. Some, like Dr. John C. Whitaker, who claimed to have found a giant skeleton in the 1930s, were professionally ostracized and had their careers destroyed. In other cases, evidence disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Bones and artifacts sent to the Smithsonian and other institutions for verification were often reported lost or misplaced. This pattern of missing evidence further fueled suspicions of a deliberate cover-up. In recent years, interest in the lost giants of America has seen a resurgence, thanks in part to alternative historians and researchers who continue to explore and publicize these enigmatic findings. While mainstream science remains largely skeptical, the ongoing debate and new discoveries keep the legend of America's giants alive. Some researchers suggest that the giant skeletons could be evidence of an ancient race that predates known human civilizations. Others propose that these giants could be linked to biblical Nephilim, mentioned in ancient texts as the offspring of gods and humans. These theories, while controversial, provide a fascinating perspective on the potential origins of these mysterious remains. Advancements in technology, such as DNA analysis and forensic reconstruction, hold the potential to provide more concrete answers about these ancient giants. Efforts to apply modern scientific techniques to any newly discovered remains could help verify their origins and unravel the truth behind the legends. The lost giants of America remain one of the most intriguing and controversial topics in the annals of North American archaeology. While mainstream science continues to dismiss the existence of these giants as myth or misidentification, the persistent reports, indigenous legends, and alleged conspiracy by the Smithsonian suggest there may be more to the story than meets the eye. Whether these giants were indeed a forgotten race or merely a series of remarkable coincidences, the mystery endures, inviting further investigation and curiosity. As new evidence comes to light, perhaps one day the truth about the lost giants of America will finally be revealed.
Please leave comments below, and if you like this video, smash the like button and hit subscribe for more revelations of secrets hidden behind the curtain.